Hey there once again, fellow flight simmers and cockpit builders. Welcome back to another one of my Back to Basics series. This one, believe it or not, is actually the fourth time that I'm recording this video. Well, since the beginning, when I started making these type of videos. The first two times, I believe it was posted, but the third time, I never even edited or posted it because right about the time when I was doing that, we heard that the website and the configurator were going to be changing again. So I said, well, what's the point of making another new one if it's going to change right after I make it? So I just basically shelved that project, and here we are now, a year later, trying to get this done. And for some reason, I don't know why this video has been giving me such a hard time. Like, I've been struggling a lot. Everybody already knows that, I make my videos extremely long, and I really, really am trying to get them to be shorter, but still give you all the information that I think is pertinent and important for you guys to hear. But I always end up making, 25, 30-minute videos, and I'm really trying to get away from that a little bit. So let's see how this one turns out. But before we get started, I want to remind everybody that I am not affiliated with or I don't represent SimVimX or Real Sim Control. I'm basically just a user like everybody else, and I'm just trying to do my part to make it easier for people to understand how to use this amazing system and build a home cockpit. So we've been talking a little bit about all the different types of components and everything that we can use. So I'm going to try to go over what pins on the Arduino you can connect each one of these different types of components, because not all the pins are equal on the Arduino. Some of them are actually quite specialized. So if you know ahead of time that you can only use certain pins for certain components, you might want to save those in the future. That way you don't have to be moving around connections later. So I made a little cheat sheet that basically I'm gonna make available on my Google Drive so you guys can download it if you want. But right here I put pretty much what pins each one of the different components can be put into or connected to. All right, so if we go to the website here, the way it works now is it has all these little things at the top, these little buttons that you can click on depending on what type of component you want to assign. If you remember before, it used to have a table on this side, if you guys seen some of my previous videos, um, and it used to show you all the pins, and then you could see whether some were assigned and some were available. And sometimes you would try to put, like for example, an analog input into a pin that doesn't take that, and it would just not let you put it on there. But now the way it works is it actually will only show you the pins that are available. So because I believe that multiplexers are one of the most important things of making this system expandable to be able to connect hundreds and hundreds of switches, buttons, encoders, and even LEDs and 7-segment displays, LCD displays, all kinds of things. Um, I'm going to go ahead and start with that. So, but in order to do that, let's say, for example, you wanted to connect an input multiplexer. It will show you all the pins that are available on a multiplexer. But right now, since I don't have any assigned, you're gonna have to choose this in order for you to be able to see the entire board. And it shows you basically that 0 and 1 are not available, and also number 22 through 29 are not available because that's the data bus and the address bus, right? So that's kind of cool. So right now, it's just showing you the 16 pins for a multiplexer as if you already had one selected, but you don't have any. That's why it has an X right here. Now, if you want to select where you want to put a multiplexer, you would just click on pin. Well, actually, I already did that. And then you would select where you want to put the multiplexer, and it'll ask you connect the new MUX to pin number 12. And I say, okay. So now you see that it says pin number 12, and it shows you the 16 uh, connections that you can assign to that. Now, when you go back to the little legend board here, you can see that it's an input multiplexer, that light purplish bluish color. That'll show you now that that's what's assigned to it right there. So now we're going to talk about output multiplexers now, because output multiplexers are also very useful if you want to connect, for example, a lot of 7-segment displays or DM13A LED drivers or even HC595 shift registers or other things that you can connect to those. So there is no little button for output multiplexers, right? So what you need to do is you need to go to a 7-segment display, and then when you select what pin you want to put it on here, you'll get the little legend table again here, and you can see at the bottom that it says add output multiplexer. So you can select whatever pin you want to assign that to, and that'll be already in there. So now um, you can only do 4 output multiplexers. So if I do that again, let's say I do that a couple of times, and you can see that I can assign these on any pin that I want. But now that I have 4 of them, if I try to do one more and select another pin, it tells me that you can only have a maximum of 4 output multiplexers, which is quite okay because those 4 will allow you to connect 64 7-segment displays or DM13A LED drivers or any other of the components that you can connect on output multiplexers. And that's actually quite more than I'm pretty sure anybody will need. So that's for output multiplexers, okay? Now, there's also analog multiplexers, but so analog, obviously, you guys might know is like the yoke, the rudder pedals, the speed brake, and I believe even the flaps you can use in analog input to do the flaps. But in order to do those, you can see that you have analog input here, but you don't have a way to do an analog multiplexer. So what you can do is just click on any pin, and then you can add one analog multiplexer. So now you have 15 pins available directly on the Arduino, and if you click on the multiplexer, now you have 16 more inputs for analog controls. So that'll give you a 30 total analog ones. So once again, I think that's probably more than any of us will ever need as far as analog inputs are concerned. All right, so now we get to the regular stuff. So now if you want to do digital inputs, which are like switches and buttons, button switches, encoders, multi-position switches, those are all in the digital input now. So you can see right off the bat that I think I already assigned something to pin number 2, so it's not available. But pins 0 and 1 are not available, as I showed you before. And everything else is available, including the analog pins. So you can actually just put regular digital inputs even on the analog pins. But like I said, the whole purpose of this video is to recognize which pins are considered like special. And that way, if you ever plan to use them in the future, you don't end up using specialty pins for just generic things, where you can actually use input multiplexers or something else. So that's for digital inputs. All right, so now there's a couple of things here that are kind of special too. So if you want to do, for example, 7-segment displays, those are like the TM1637 or the MAX7219, and I believe you can also make your own displays with DM13A drivers or the HC595. So you can actually assign where you want to put a display, but this is one of those where right here you don't really see it. It doesn't really show you, but those you can only do on pins number 30 to 37. So if I wanted to try to put a display over here, it won't let me. You see, if I want to do it over here, it doesn't let me. You have to do only 30 to 37. So if I choose one there, it asks me, do you want to assign a display to pin number 33? And you say okay, and now it's already assigned right there. So by default, it actually selected a MAX7219. So you can go in here and you can select the different type of display that you have. Like I said, the most common ones are going to be the TM1637 and the MAX7219. I prefer the TM1637, but those I've only been able to find in 4 and 6 digits. And the MAX7219 I have found in up to 8 digits only. I'm sure there are 3 and 5 digit ones, but I haven't been able to find any. And if I do, they're probably going to be more expensive. So let's just say for the sake of this demo that we select the DM1637. And then if we go, for example, to the MCP panel, now we can select, let's just say the heading, and then we can assign it to that. So that's how easy it is. So like I said, once again, only pins 30 to 37 are going to be available for 7-segment displays. All right. Now, LCD displays, that's a whole different thing. So let's say, for example, that you wanted to put uh, this on an LCD display. So you have to first, and that's the funny thing about this website now, is you have to first select kind of like what type of component you want to connect, and then it will allow you to assign it. So you first have to open, for example, LCD display, and then you can select where you want to put an LCD display. For LCDs, you can actually connect them to pins 20 and 21, and then from pins 30 all the way through 69, which is A15. It used to be before that you can only connect them on 30 through 49, but I guess this is something that has changed recently. So if you go to, like, for example, pin 17, 11, it won't let you, but if you go to like pin 31, it will let you. But this is one of those things where I mentioned before that if you plan to connect, let's say, 7 or 8 7 segment displays directly to the Arduino, then you don't want to use pins 30 to 37 because those are the only pins where you can connect 7 segment displays. So when you have so many other options for LCDs, why would you want to waste, one of the 30 to 37s that 7 segment displays work on? So let's say you want to put one on pin number 52, and then there you go. And then for these, then you can go in there and you can select what type of display you are using. But we're going to talk about all the details of all the different types of components in separate videos for each type of component. All right, so we got 7 segment displays already. We connected LEDs now. So LEDs are basically, they're called direct output. And you can pretty much connect an LED to any pin. I don't think I mentioned this before yet, right? So if you want to connect, for example, the LED right here, and it's funny because right here you see how I selected a direct output, and when I select on this, it actually knows that I'm trying to connect an LED because that's what I have open right here, the window. So if I wanted to do this right here, I can connect that right there. And let's say I wanted to do the button. So in order to do the button, I will need to select digital input, and then when I click on it, now you see it doesn't say that it's an LED, it's just a button. So it will let you put the button wherever you want. All right, so that's for digital LEDs direct output. And one very important thing to know about LEDs is that you do not want to connect a whole bunch of LEDs directly to the Arduino because each one of them is going to draw a little bit of power, maybe 10 to 20 milliamps, or maybe a little more if it's a very different, stronger LED. So you want to keep it down to maybe like 10 of them. All right, so now, LED drivers, speaking of that, so right now, like everything else, if you haven't selected, if you haven't assigned any LED drivers, it's just going to show you an X because you don't have any assigned yet. But let's say, for example, you wanted to put an LED driver on pin number 49 right here. So it asks you, are you sure do you want to connect an LED driver here? And you say yes. And then right here, it tells you that it can be either a DM13A or an HC595 shift register. I like using DM13As because they don't require a resistor on every LED. And with a HC595 shift register, you do need a resistor. And it's a lot of wiring. I don't like that. So now that you have an LED assigned here, an LED driver, now you can go ahead and click, on anything that you want to assign that has a light, and you can fill it up with LEDs. So now, I think I mentioned before, you can daisy chain up to 4 LED drivers using only one pin on the Arduino. So technically with one pin on the Arduino, you can connect 64 LEDs. So right here by default, it only shows you the first 32. Actually, now it showed all of them. It showed 3 of them here. But if you wanted to go up to the 64, like if you are daisy chaining 4, you can just click on that and then you'll see the rest of them. So each one of them will show you 16 if they're daisy chained. So you need to make sure you assign them on the right one. So LEDs and LED drivers you can assign on every single pin. Okay, so now we get to pulse width modulated devices. So PWM devices are like coil gauges that have a needle that moves, like for example, a tachometer, an airspeed indicator, maybe an altimeter, but you need to have obviously multiple needles for that one, maybe field gauges, anything that can have a needle that can move up and down. So there is a way to connect them directly to the Arduino, and that's only on pins 2 through 13, and also 44, 45, and 46. If we go, for example, to a main cockpit, and we go to the main instruments here, and let's say you wanted to use the vertical speed indicator. So when you select that one, you put it on 2, it does work there. Now let's say you want to do the airspeed indicator and you try to do it on 44. So that is for direct pulse width modulated devices. You can also use a pulse width modulated device driver, and these are TLC 5947s. I had them on the picture that I showed earlier too. So if you select one of these you can select only on pins 30 to 37. So like I said before, when you open up one of these and you don't have one assigned already, it's going to show you the layout as if you already had one assigned, so you can see what was assigned to that one. But since we don't have any, that's why you see an X. So don't mistake in this for this being the pins on the Arduino. These are actually the pins on that 24 pin TLC 5947. So once you click on this, and you open this window, then you can select the pins that are available to use it. But once again, on this one, it doesn't really show you only which pins are available, so you kind of have to know. So if we put it on, let's say, pin number 30, then you can connect one there. You see that? And now since you already have one assigned, now you see the pin number there, and you also see the 24 inputs that are available. So the same thing on this, you select whatever gauge you want to make, and you assign it to whatever pin on that driver you want to put it on. Okay, so one thing about pulse width modulated drivers is that you can only have one driver. So now if you try to go back and you try to assign another one, you see it won't let you anymore, even though we're clicking on the pins that should be available for this. But once again, you have 8 pins here, which most likely you'll want to save for 7-segment displays, most of them. So if you did want to make 4 or 5 gauges, you don't want to use up those. So it would be much easier just to get one of those little drivers and then assign it to one of the pins, and then you can connect 24 gauges into that one. So that's much better usage of pins. All right, so it looks like one of the things that we have left now is servos, stepper motors, and key matrix. All right, so we'll start with the key matrix. So I'll open it in a new tab here, and we'll go over here. So the key matrix, you're gonna need an Arduino Uno or Nano, and you're gonna need a multiplexer, and you're gonna basically wire them in this method so that you can have up to 176 different inputs. Now, I would rather just use multiplexers, in order to have a lot of inputs. But one of the cool things about this one is that if you wanted to create the predefined FMC or CDU, you can actually do that very easily without wasting a whole bunch of pins on Arduino. The thing about the key button matrix is that once you assign it, pins number 18 and 19 are not going to be available anymore because they use that to communicate with the board. So if we go to back up here, you'll see that pins number 18 and 19 are the transmit and receive lines that are going to go between the two boards. So you'll lose the ability to use pins 18 and 19. That's one of the specialty things that I was talking about earlier. Another thing that we got as far as that's concerned is also the servo, the servo gauges. So if we open that in a new tab as well, you can see that that also uses an Arduino Nano or Uno, and you use pins number 16 and 17 for that one. So that's going to be another two pins that are considered specialty pins if you ever want to use a stepper motor controller. And last but not least, we also have stepper gauges. So we'll open that one up in a new tab as well. And you can see that with steppers, you can also have an Uno or Nano controller board, and they use pins number 18 and 19 as well. Okay, so if you wanted to use the key matrix and also the stepper motor controller boards, you will need to daisy chain them because obviously both of them use pins number 18 and 19 from the Arduino Mega. So I'm sure I remember reading it somewhere in this pages, but like with everything else, I always say, if you're going to be building something, if you need to know how to connect something, please always go and read the website. That's going to be where all the information is, and anything else that I just give you is just extra information. So maybe some of it will help, maybe some of it, hopefully not, will confuse you more. All right, so just for a quick overview, I'm going to go ahead and load up one of my configuration files here, and just so you can see what it looks like when it's already populated. So now that I loaded it, you can't tell that there's anything loaded, right? But when you go to, for example, input multiplexers, now you can see that I have a bunch of assignments here. And now when you click on the pin thing here, now you can see all the different multiplexers that I have. All these light purple ones, they're all input multiplexers. So as you go through each one, you can see what assignments are attached to that particular one, like that. So and then you can see I actually have a lot of LEDs that are connected directly. You see that right there? And then the two analog ones. So when you click on the analog, for example, if you click out of this and you go to analog input, you can see what you have assigned right there. So that's the only thing that you kind of have to go to the particular connection type in order for you to see what is connected. And if we go to the connection diagram over here, you can kind of see only that I have a bunch of input multiplexers and a bunch of LEDs, but you really can't see what is assigned to them. But when you click on it here, it opens up the the pins that are related to that, and then you can see that those are all the LEDs that I have assigned. If I go to analog pins over here, then it'll show me all the analog pins, and then when I click on the displays, it'll show me the pin number and what I have assigned to that display. Um, the LEDs, I'm sorry, the input multiplexers, they will show you everything that is assigned to that multiplexer. So, well, I guess that brings us to the end of this video. I really did think about cutting it up into two parts because I knew it was going to be extremely long again, but I have struggled with this video so much already. I literally almost just about gave up on recording it because every time I was doing it, something wasn't working out right. Or, I just got this new camera. I got the Elgato MK2 face cam, which is supposed to be one of the best streaming cameras there is. And I've been having a little bit of trouble making it look right. Yeah, I mean, even right now, I don't know how you guys see it, but there's been a couple of times when I'm struggling with it. I've tried all the options and everything, and I don't know if it's my green screen back here or what's going on, but sometimes it makes me want to go back to my old Logitech C922 camera. But anyways, that's besides the point. Um, well, I guess that's gonna be it for this video. I think it's gonna be long enough already, so see you on the next one.